97underground.com, Baltimore's pure rock.
Hello, this is Michael Spedden, and thanks for joining us today on the 97underground.com Michael Spedden Interviews channel here on YouTube. There have been many requests from both listeners and guests for us to make available our artist interviews so they can listen again or share with others. You can find us on YouTube at 97underground Michael Spedden. Remember, the Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show, can be heard on 97underground.com every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Not only do I feature artist interviews, I feature songs you forgot you liked, classics that never die, beloved local, regional, up-and-coming, and underground artists. You can listen anytime, anywhere by downloading our free app from 97underground.com. Just do it. And now, today's episode. Hey folks, Michael Spedden here, host of The Back of the Rack on 97underground.com, Baltimore's pure rock worldwide. Today we are going to sit down with Matthew Nelson from Nelson. I had a great time talking to him today. He's got a lot of great stories, just lots of great things to say, talking about show business itself, the history of his career, talking a bit about his father, and the book that he and his brother have written that is going to be out later this year. I think that's going to be a heck of a book. He said it's going to be close to 500 pages, 53 chapters of just great stories and everything else that's going on in their lives up to this point. So definitely check that out when it comes out. They're going to be at Ram's Head on Stage in Annapolis on June 12th. Tickets are available at ramsheadonstage.com. And the version of their show, they're not going to bring the full band. They're going to be doing an acoustic act / storytelling show. It's going to be a great evening. I really think you're going to enjoy it. If you enjoyed this interview, you're going to love that show. So make sure you get out and check it out. So folks, thank you again for tuning in. Remember, we're here on 97underground.com every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. And also, don't forget to download the free app. Listen to us anytime, anywhere. So folks, enjoy the interview. And welcome back to the Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show here on 97underground.com, Baltimore's pure rock worldwide. And today I am here with Matthew Nelson. Matthew Nelson is one half of the Nelson brothers. Nelson is, as we all know, for many years now, a big showbiz family. We remember Nelson from their albums in the late 80s and early 90s, and they're still going strong. They're coming around to Ram's Head on Stage this coming June 12th. So welcome to the show, Matt. It's great to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to coming back to Ram's Head. I love that area, and we're kind of pumped about it.
Absolutely. Well, it'll be great to see you, too. It'll be great to see you, too, because this is going to be a great show. Now, it is booked as the Nelsons, which is going to be you and your brother, right?
True. I mean, Gunnar and I, we love doing this. A lot of people go, well, it's an acoustic show. Well, yeah, but it's more of a storyteller's type of thing. And every time we play this way, we bring it. We're fierce. We did a run with Styx and Frampton just like this in front of arena crowds. It's not sleepy. And,
right.
I think if we do our job right, we're a cross between the Everly Brothers and the Smothers Brothers with a little. It's good.
That sounds wonderful. And it's going to be, again, coming to Ram's Head on Stage in Annapolis. And it looks like a great show. So how have things been going lately? I know you're out on the road. You're doing some shows here and there now, getting ready to kick off. You're going to be out during the summertime and into the fall, I think, looking at your website.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's starting to kind of gear up a little bit. I think we're going to accelerate as we get a little bit later in the year. We got a lot of things kind of cooking that we're leading into this. And I think the part of that is we just finished our book. My brother and I did. Yes, we can actually write. We're literate. But it's about 500 pages and 53 chapters of stories and anecdotes and kind of backstory and forethought. And it's funny. And we had a great time doing it. It wore us out.
Mm-hmm.
Released, I think, to the Amazon crowd in October, and December 15th it'll be available in Barnes and Noble and places like that. And it coincides with something we just filmed and is in the can with John Cena. He has a television show on HBO. It's their top-rated show called The Peacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
James Gunn, the director producer, did Guardians of the Galaxy and Superman and that type. It's actually his show. and
Right.
it's fantastic. The finale episode is ours. It's called Full Nelson, and the characters go to one of our concerts, and they filmed it over 2 days in Savannah, Georgia, on top of a ship, actually. So it was a good time, and we're kind of gearing into that part of our lives. Everything's going to culminate at the end of the year.
Hmm. That sounds great. A lot going on in Savannah too. It's a pretty much a hotbed. Georgia is as far as filming and things like that.
Sure, they give a lot of breaks to the crews. You get in there and massive tax breaks to do that.
Hmm.
Scott and I were born and raised in Los Angeles, and we had a lot of background in those types of situations with television and film, and it's really difficult. Our stepfather, Mark Tinker, was a director that still is, that did NYPD Blue
Hmm.
and Elsewhere and things like that. Kind of a big deal in his time in television. I think Grey's Anatomy as well. And he just said that it's really, really difficult to make television and film in Hollywood now because they're just taxing people to death. And so people are looking for other places. Texas is another one. People are starting to come to Nashville, where we live now. But Georgia's always been a hotbed just because they make it very friendly. They make it easy for people to make art there.
Maryland was like that where I'm from for a long time, and now that went out the window, and then nothing's happening here. But we had a good long run with Homicide and The Wire,
Right.
and which helped our image quite a bit. But you know, um, yeah, but it's great that all these other places are coming up. That again, more places in the country for people to be creative. That's the name of the game, I think.
Well, I
Um,
do. And I think a lot of it is honestly politics and money, which it usually winds up to winding up that. I know that our Uncle Mark Harmon actually was doing his show, NCIS, and had to move it all. It was still in California, but it was in the middle of nowhere. Well, it used to be. Now it's kind of populated in the Santa Clarita Valley, in a place on the corner of Valencia, which is it's an hour drive out of Hollywood just to get out there.
mhm,
But I think it was successful enough to where they gave him some breaks. They didn't want it to leave. But he also, if you noticed, NCIS branched out, and they've got NCIS New Orleans and all that. I think it's because shows are being made in Hawaii now. I think
mhm.
just wanted to bring people in because it really does help the economy and the image of the places that create this work.
It does. It really does. And again, and it really has, like, once you start filming and everything, they're going to need food, they're going to need all these other things, hotels and that kind of thing, and it just really has like a big chain.
Sure.
It trickles through everything, and it's really great for the local economy. Plus, again, it puts the place on the map. People want to come check out where NCIS was filmed, or any other thing was really filmed or took place. So
Well, they had Bill here for a while. They did that show that was a huge hit.
mhm,
A huge boom, not only in people that came to go downtown to the bars on Broadway and hang out at the Bluebird Cafe that was featured on the show all the time. That's a really famous acoustic venue, actually, probably the most famous in the world. But people tended to come to Nashville and want to stay. And
mhm,
they did. They moved their families out. And it's, boy, the Nashville that we've known for the last 20 years or so has changed a lot. COVID,
mhm.
a lot of people kind of got run out of certain places because they're like, I'm not doing this. And they seem to be friendlier. And I just think that's kind of all part of it. The art is kind of migrating along with the people as
Mhm.
around. And honestly, Hollywood, I was just there last week. It feels like a relative ghost town to what it was 10 years ago now, just as far as television and film. People are kind of wondering what's going to happen there because there's so much infrastructure. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It doesn't
Mhm.
work. Things aren't based there. It's just, I think people are, even in Hollywood, are looking for other things to do to branch out and maybe keep the cash flow going.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not uncommon because there's other parts of the country too. Here, being on the East Coast, especially in the Mid Atlantic region, whenever we wanted to try to get somewhere in entertainment or whatever something was going on, we would always go to New York.
Right.
And New York, again, there's still a lot going on up there and everything. I really don't think it's shifted away as much from New York as it has from LA.
Mhm.
But again, there are a lot of other places around where people are doing a lot of filming and things like that that are just, it's not just New York and LA anymore, which I think is great for the country. It's great for people. Um, people don't always have to uproot themselves and move all the way,
Mhm.
to either one or the other to be able to be a part of this, and again, there's lots and lots of, again, opportunities and outlets for people that there weren't years ago, which, hey, amen.
Yeah, I think that's very, very true. By the way, just something, how when we do these Zoom calls, things will come up on your phone or whatever. We were talking about my uncle Mark Harmon,
Hmm.
and just as I said, I haven't talked to Mark since the fires in Pacific Palisades, which he was near. He's very busy, but apparently, uh, my nephew, I guess he'd be my nephew, or a cousin. I'm trying to think. His son just had a little boy, so Cooper
Hey,
has arrived. Cooper Harmon is now a new member of the Harmon Nelson clan, so that's kind of nice. You heard it first. It's
hey, great. That's great news. We're breaking the story here on 97underground.com. We have a brand new Harmon baby that has joined us in the world today. Well, amen to that. Hey, great job. Great job. Congratulations on behalf of 97 Underground to your uncle.
Oh yeah, it's pretty cool. He's kind of he's doing very well, Uncle
Mm-hmm.
Mark. Proud of him. We always knew him as Uncle Mark because for us growing up, he wasn't acting yet. He was at UCLA as a quarterback. He was a football player.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. And he has a lot of athleticism in that family, right?
Well, yeah, our grandfather, his dad won the Heisman at Michigan in 1940, so he was
Mm-hmm.
a football player. Uh, Different kind of guy. It was really interesting to think about that, and we were kind of wrote about that in our book. Our grandpa Tom still holds records in high school sports in Indiana, where he was from,
Mm-hmm.
to this day. And he was, I think, the youngest of five brothers, and
Mm-hmm.
the best way of not getting hurt when he played football was to never get caught. So he was fast and strong and was a great football player. And then he went off in World War II, was a fighter pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So like his story is amazing. Somebody's got to do a movie about him. He wound up being a sportscaster, like going in broadcasting like you, and he was, I guess, in
Uh-huh.
the Hall of Fame now too. So, quite a family, those guys. And our mom was the oldest of the Harmon kids.
Okay.
Yep, and married our dad when she was only 17. And there are four siblings on our side. So, Gunnar and I think we were planned, but not the twin part. That was, whoops, mom's getting really big. What's going on? So, but yeah, no, it's an interesting family. Before we even started talking, we talked a little bit about things. Like you said something like, "What was it like? Christmas in your family?" It was probably pretty interesting, and it's really true. It's when everybody gets together, it's it's kind of surreal to be honest. I mean, Mark married Pam Dauber from
Mm-hmm.
working.
Oh yeah.
Our sister was on Square Pegs, and Gunnar and I are doing the music thing. I think it's by the way, Pam was a great singer. She did like the Pirates of Penzance and stuff. She was she had a very strong voice, and so we kind of bonded with her a little bit on the music part
Mm-hmm.
more than the acting thing. And
Right. Right.
kind of neat to kind of exchange stories. Like with her, it's like always talking about Mork and Mindy and Robin Williams and all that stuff that I'm fascinated
Mm-hmm.
with about. So it's a neat thing for all of us to get together. We're also busy though. It really doesn't happen a whole lot these days because Gunnar and I are out on the road doing our thing or writing a book, and Mark's producing and semi-retired now. So
Mm-hmm.
I wish him well. There's, congratulations, and here's to Cooper.
Oh, sure, absolutely, absolutely. One thing I had seen, and in your publicist sent me a bunch of facts about you all, and apparently, I think it was around, I guess maybe 89 or 90,
Mhm.
you knocked Vanilla Ice off of the number one spot with the Ice Ice Baby, or not, yeah,
Well, I
your
don't.
song knocked his out of number one or something. Was that
It was probably
correct? Or
close to that. I'm not really sure. All I know, my experience with old Rob was we did a show once and we found ourselves on the same bill. It was a lot of radio stations used to do these radio parties. Basically, they were live concerts that we didn't get paid for, but it helped us get our songs played. If you know what I mean, it's like,
Mhm.
remember this one, it's that kind of thing. And he was on the bill too. And to be honest with you, we probably now, especially, would get along great. But back then, it was a kind of a weird thing where uh, I guess in a different way, and I'm not going to say anything bad, but ego ruled the day, and that
Mhm.
we were slated to close the show.
Mhm.
We had a time slot, and he had his time slot, and basically what he was doing was trying to move his time slot by not showing up on stage to where it would interfere with our show. So the promoter for the radio station came backstage and says, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Not a problem. If he's not going to show up, we'll go out. We'll do 2 hours. Not a problem."
Mm-hmm.
So he got on that stage so fast you wouldn't believe it. It's tough. But no, I think at the time when Love and Affection went #1, we were dueling it out with an artist named Maxi Priest, and it was a song called "I Just Want to Be Close to You." And
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right.
right, and he wound up, we hit #1, and then he had the #1 spot the next week. But the coolest thing about that was that first album, Love and Affection went #1. After the Rain, I believe, went #3. It was either 3 or 6 on R&R. I know it was #1, but I'm talking about the Billboard Hot 100 chart, like the main chart. And then More Than Ever, that broke the top 10, and Only Time Will Tell, I think, was right around number 18. So I think the album was on the Hot 100 chart, the albums chart, for I think 62 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
pretty well. And it was nice for us because we got to go out and tour it. We really wanted to be out there playing, because Gunnar and I, it seemed like we came out of nowhere and massive hit, but we had been signed to Geffen Records, which was DGC, David Geffen Company, for years. And at the time, it was this juggernaut label that had Whitesnake and Peter Gabriel and Guns N' Roses, all these massive artists. And here we were just trying to get Aerosmith, of course. We were just trying to get a break and get a little slot to release our album. And it was always, it's never easy for anybody that's doing this. And we started playing when we were, I guess, 7 years old, and we're playing clubs by the time we were 12. Gunnar was a drummer, played bass, and I used to sing all of the leads, the lower lead stuff, and we were in the studio kind of messing around later on, making demos. And I guess I was having a sandwich or something, and he just threw down a vocal to get it done, and it reversed our vocal roles, and I came in and sang on top of him in the harmony part, and all of a sudden it was like, eureka, that's the sound. It's like all of a sudden kind of found us. And I think the last time I heard something like that happen was, believe it or not, the Bee Gees, when Barry Gibb went in and was kind of just joking around with that, that high voice he was doing.
The falsetto, yeah. And a lot of that was more in the disco era, but yeah.
Yeah, they had success before, where one of the other brothers was the main singer.
Yeah.
And the producer said, "Hey, whoa, hang on, do more of that." And it would just became a thing. So it was neat how this all unfolded. And the coolest part is I've gotten to do it with my twin brother, who I think it's even cooler that we still get along after all these years, because a lot of those bands don't. And we're not Oasis. We can't go away for 10 years hating each other and come back and, do a money like that. But I'm excited. I'm placing bets on how long that's going to last.
And another point, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there, but another point that it's kind of hard to hear on Zoom sometimes, but sometimes and the fact, you do have a long line of show business in your family, but the thing is that, that was no guarantee for you and your brother or your sister. That was no guarantee. I mean, you guys had to deliver the goods. You had to have the chops and what it takes to be able to do this.
Well, it's kind of like I said before when we were talking, we've sold millions of records to people who had no idea who Ozzy and Harriet was.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that was the whole point. In my case, it's kind of neat for me to go back, and a lot of people would think, oh, it's a nepotism thing. If I had a nickel for every time somebody wanted or told me, I'm going to teach you what the real world is like. It was kind of like they felt like they were obligated to make it tough. And it's like, we've had plenty of that. Gunnar and I always have felt like we're guilty until proven innocent. It's kind of thing. People have an idea. And I can understand it too, to a certain degree, because there are a lot of sons and daughters that really didn't have it.
Right.
And crashed and burned. Gunnar and I did all of our work before anybody had even heard of us. That whole like LA hairband thing, as much as I like a lot of that stuff, Gunnar and I really got our start in clubs 10 years before that, doing the new wave punk rockabilly thing in LA that was happening. So it was all the bands with, the in the name, the Knack, the Go-Go's, the Motels, all that stuff, and all the punk and rockabilly stuff. That was kind of more of our zone.
Yeah.
We kind of laughed at the other stuff. It just didn't seem as musical. We got into it more later on, but it just wasn't what we were. We got lumped into it because we had long hair, but I think it was because we had songs that were, not all spill beer on your girlfriend songs. We loved that stuff. But that's not what we did. We wrote different types of music, and the fact that we wrote our stuff, we kind of felt more like Cheap Trick. We were like a heavy version of the Hollies,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that kind of country rock stuff that we grew up with really was in our vocals. We were a singing band. We never used tapes or tracks or anything. And it just was kind of what we grew up. It was like a heavy version of the Eagles. That's what we kind of wanted to be and do. And I think it's, if you squint, of course it fits on bills. We go out to last week we were out with Lita Ford, who's a friend of ours, and it still works. We love her. Our drummer, Bobby Rock from the old days, is in her band now. We all know each other. We love each other. You mentioned LA Guns before. Phil Lewis came out and joined us for something we do called scrap metal, which is all the lead singers of all those bands in one thing, kind of like a Kings of Chaos deal.
Right.
And the way we look at it is we love visiting the neighborhood, but we don't have to live there. We can do other things too, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, and that was another thing too, is that another thing I kind of wanted to ask though too was, I've heard a lot of interviews with people who, again, don't want their kids going anywhere near show business. They've had their success, but they really know the realities of it and everything. Sadly, you unfortunately you lost your father. I guess you were probably still in school or maybe just out, but was there any advice that he had given you? Did he take you under your wing and at least say, hey, look, this is how it really is? Or was there anything that he really kind of gave you as pointers or anything to warn you about what the reality of it is?
Kind of yes and no. Here was the situation. Our mother wanted us to do anything but be in the music business because she felt marriage failed and she lost everything to sex and drugs and rock and roll. She made it almost impossible for us to pursue the dream of music, such as knowing we were playing nightclubs and we weren't even going to go on stage until 10 o'clock and giving us a 9 p.m. curfew. Moving our instruments 20 miles away when we didn't drive to our dad's house, knowing, we just got very, very good about adapting and overcoming because we wanted to do this so much. We just got jobs after school and paid a senior to drive us, and whatever we need, it just toughened us up, playing for years in nightclubs where we were too young to get into the clubs. They had to pass a law to basically, it's the truth. So we learned how to play to an audience that was much older. And frankly, this is what's funny. All of those people at the time that we played at, like, say, Madame Wong's or something, one of the clubs in LA, they were singing Shiny Happy People songs and were the most aggressive, mentally impaired people we've ever met in our lives. These were really, really rotten, tough people. They'd sabotage your gear. They would slag your band while you were on stage. They would do all that kind of stuff because we were kids. And at the time, Gunnar could play circles around everybody drum-wise. People were coming to just watch him drum. And it wasn't until we lost our dad that he realized that it was time for him to come up front with me. Now, that was scary for me. That was the scariest thing I ever went through because he was a great drummer and we were a rhythm section. And he, we played Saturday Night Live, the only unsigned band to play it. And he told me on the way home he was going to basically break the band up and spend a year learning how to play guitar. And I thought he'd lost his mind. I encouraged him, because he's a lefty, to learn how to play guitar righty. And he did, in fact, play guitar every day for 10 hours a day for a year and became quite a guitar player. So credit to him. Dweezil Zappa basically was his first guitar mentor and coach. And he's awesome, by the way. What an amazing player.
Oh, God. That's another one that, runs in the family.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, I just saw Dweezil 2 days ago. We're good friends still. And we kind of caught our first lick together in a weird way. Gunnar and I and Dweezil sat down at a friend's house who had like an 8-track, I guess, reel-to-reel recording studio. That was state of the art at the time. And we put something down, wrote a song in about 20 minutes. Dweezil played guitar, I played bass, Gunnar played the drums on it, threw down a vocal. And it wound up becoming the theme song to Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which was some kind of semi-indie movie that they were making. That if you read what the breakdown of that was, there's no way that thing was ever going to make it, So, but anyways, there's this song called Two Heads Are Better Than One. The director got a copy of it and loved it. And he put together this great soundtrack. It was the first time we ever heard of a band called Extreme. They did, I think, Do You Want to Play on it? And Nuno Betancourt, wow, what a player.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It was a great soundtrack. It worked out great. But our own record company, John Colodner, famous record guy, we hadn't released our record yet, and he wouldn't let us call it Nelson. So we had to come up with a name on the spur of the moment. And Gunner's kind of like, Mr. Velvet Glove and, middle finger in the Velvet Glove said, what about Power Tool? Mm-hmm. And that's what we're known as on the soundtrack of that. And the title song. So, it's weird how things kind of unfold once you start getting momentum. But I will say that it was not as easy as people thought in the sense, Gunner and I were supposed to be on our dad's plane with him. And he thought different about it. And we had our bags packed and he said, I want you guys to meet me on New Year's Eve in Dallas. And that's when the plane went down. We talk all about it in our book about that. I mean, the truth is I found out my dad was dead on the car radio.
Oh no.
Well, that's the thing too, is that all those things that you don't really think about in the era of the Kardashians is, not everybody gets paid to fart through silk, that comes from a famous family. So it just was what it was. Our mom liked to drink and our dad was gone a lot. So Gunner and I had each other and we had our music. And that was a godsend. I honestly think that was all we really needed. The book title was going to be The Boys Have Each Other, because that's what everybody said. Tracy was a little older than us. Our younger brother was kind of, trust fund Nelson. Nobody even knows about him. But Gunner and I were right in the middle of it. And if we didn't have that dream, that mutual dream, and I guess the work ethic, the one thing we got from our grandfather Ozzy was an amazing work ethic.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
He's just, a guy that wrote, produced, edited, directed, and starred in all 435 episodes of the show, had #1 records with a big band, even though he couldn't read or write music at all. He was just one of those guys that just made it happen. And I think we learned that, which is if we can't get something done, let's either learn it and get it done or figure out how we can utilize other people that can help us make the dream happen. It's like anybody. I'll also put it in this way. We had a great friend of ours. I actually really identified with him, even though we were complete opposites. And his name was Jack Pawnee. He was from Toms River, New Jersey. So South Jersey, Italian guy. He wrote songs for like Alice Cooper and Bon Jovi and stuff. But he was acerbic and he was very Italian. And he used to be, when he grew up, he was a fat kid and he lost a lot of weight and got better looking and had hit songs and never forgot about being a fat kid and getting teased. Kind of that guy. He had a chip on his shoulder for his whole life. And I loved the guy dearly. And he didn't have a whole lot of friends because he would say things like, I remember to Gunner and myself, he got really frustrated with us once. He said, you guys can make the most out of nothing more than anybody I've ever met. And I said, thank you, man. And he's like, I didn't mean it as a compliment, but I took it as a compliment because you could take it both ways. For Gunner and myself, that was survival, was figuring out how to make the most out of nothing. The way I look at it too, it's about wealth in life. It has nothing to do with money. I've been rich. I've been famous. Who cares? It's about, being thankful for what you have. And I truly believe that you can look at life completely differently. I know a lot of rich people that are miserable, a lot of broke people that are really happy. So I guess life is kind of a choice. And that's kind of what Gunner and I wrote about and played about because we were the walking wounded. We were writing songs for people just like us. And there are a lot more of them than there are Gunner and I, we always say that our life was Revenge of the Nerds.
Wow. Well, Matthew, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. I mean, you and I'm sure I could talk to you for days. I mean, you've got so many great stories and just so many interesting things to bring to the table here. And I'm looking forward. I'm getting a copy of that book when it comes out. I'll tell you that right now. In the time that we have left, we did mention the Ram's Head on Stage show, June 12th. You can get your tickets at Ram's Head. I believe it's ramsheadonstage.com. And
Twins. If you can't find that, if it's too tough for you and you're blonde like me, Nelson Twins, you'll find it.
Nelson Twins is your website, and you have a lot of other things on your website as well. Music, links to all kinds of different things, and it's a great website. Are there other things you'd like to promote real quick in the next 90 seconds?
In the next 90 seconds, Not really to promote. I think I've talked about it. We've got the book coming out later. We've got the Peacemaker. We're out on tour. I think we're about to do a whole bunch of shows with Night Ranger, which is going to be kind of fun.
Oh, great.
I love those guys. The nice thing is that Gunnar and I are usually 1 degree away from somebody that you know and love. So we have a lot of stories. Mm-hmm. When we play our shows, if you haven't seen us play, I will say this, we're the real deal. We take our music seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it's all about. When you see us play, I think we'll make a new friend if you're not one already. So come and see the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So folks, remember June 12th at Ram's Head on stage in Annapolis, the Nelsons, Matthew and Gunnar Nelson, doing, like you had mentioned, an acoustic and storytelling type show. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you're anything like me, if you have my interest, it's going to be something you're definitely not going to want to miss. And again, Ram's Head is a great setting, I think, for a show like this. So definitely make sure that you get out and see them.
And I got to call and see who in the area. I do have family in that area and stuff, but sometimes you never know who's going to join us. I mean, we've worked with a lot of people that people don't know. I actually wound up singing the backup vocals for Steel Panther on their first 2 albums.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So if they're in town, maybe we can pull out Fat Girls and do that one. I don't know, but I love those.
Great.
They're so much fun. But we're looking forward to seeing you. And again, that whole area, everybody there has been so nice to us. And I do have some really, really vivid memories of playing huge shows in that area in Annapolis. People don't know this, we actually played Annapolis. We actually played for the cadets at Annapolis.
Oh, yeah, Naval Academy, sure.
We did, because the commanding officer there was a big fan of ours, and we did our scrap metal show. I think that time it was Lita Ford, Dee Snider, Mark Slaughter, Janet Gardner from Vixen, and we all did we backed them all up, and it was like a live mixtape on the stairs. And they had been given an assignment, because of course they're so young, to kind of research our music. They all showed up in 80s stuff with Aquanet hair and the whole thing. It was a lot of fun. We love Annapolis. Really fun place.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we'll be seeing you there soon, Matthew. Best of luck with the tour and everything. And folks, you're listening to The Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show, here on 97underground.com, Baltimore's Pure Rock Worldwide. Get out and see Nelson, the Nelsons, actually. So
we go by multiple names. People even call me Gunnar from time to time. But just come and see the show.
Yep, and you're not going to be wearing name tags on stage or anything, right?
Great idea. Why not? I love it. Like the thing.
So, all right, folks, get out and see them, and we'll be back right after these words. And thanks again for listening to 97 Underground, the Michael Spedden interviews, and we hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember, download the free app from 97underground.com so you can listen to us wherever you go. The Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show, can be heard on 97underground.com every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Listen anytime, anywhere. Metal.
Worldwide metal, 24/7. 97underground.com.